Everyone says they want to be their own boss. More freedom, more control, more time. I get it, because that's exactly why I started. But what most people don't realize is that being your own boss actually means something very, very different. There's no safety net. There's no guaranteed paycheck. Every problem is yours. Whether you caused it or not, it's your problem. Early on, I learned this the hard way. Not from a book or a podcast, but by being in it, making mistakes, owning the consequences, and figuring it out in real time. If you're here because you want freedom, this video might surprise you, because real business ownership doesn't start with freedom. It starts with responsibility. And today, I want to take you back to ground zero. So before we really start talking about scaling, we need to talk about ground zero, the beginning. What I mean by that is you really need to focus that is not about motivational responsibility, but extreme responsibility when you take ownership of a company. There's payroll, there's cash flow, there's families, right? There's children. I tell everybody, when you start a business and you start to hire employees, you are now responsible for the children's eating dinner. It's not even about the employees, your subcontractors, your customers, everything. It all falls on you specifically, right? Because you're the owner. And all mistakes, they fall on you. All success, yes, that is you. But you have to understand that responsibility is everything. And when you start out, you're not really sure. So you need to take action. You need to start making mistakes. You need to start learning from those mistakes when you're ready to actually take ownership and responsibility when you're running a company. So many people out there, right? They're unhappy in a W-2 job. They're unhappy with what they're doing today because they want autonomy, right? We always talk about they don't like their boss, and that's a huge problem in society. People don't like their boss and they want more autonomy, particularly in society today, because there's so much more flexibility. There's work from home, you have children, you gotta get them to events. And so people think if they run their own business, they can have that. But that couldn't be anywhere further from the truth. Why? Because again, responsibility. You have to maximize the ownership of the responsibility of the role that you took on. Because the moment that you decide that you're gonna create revenue and you're gonna build a business, you have to understand that there's a lot that goes with it around ensuring that what you say you're going to do, you're actually going to do. And for us early on, it was so much about hustle, hustle, hustle. But what we realized extremely quickly is you have to get clear. You have to understand where it is that you're going, right? You have to get the clarity there. You have to understand the financial picture of what it is that you have going on. And you have to understand that it is incredibly important to take care of your surroundings and to own it and to make those mistakes. Now I want to dive into what I believe are the 3 biggest misconceptions when starting your own business, when wanting to become an entrepreneur. The first, freedom comes first. It doesn't. It actually disappears when you start your business, when you become an entrepreneur. The second, hustle solves everything. Hustle doesn't solve everything. You could hustle till you're blue in the face. It doesn't mean your business is gonna grow, because if you're not focused on the right things, it's not gonna work. Hustle, it doesn't solve all your problems. And the third, revenue equals success. Not true. Revenue definitely does not equal success. I firmly believe you have to be able to sell something in order to grow the business, of course, and that's revenue. But it is definitely not going to equal success. Matter of fact, there's studies out there that talk about how the more you can grow your revenue, especially early on, the bigger risk you have for bankruptcy, for failure. Now let's dive into each of those 3 misconceptions just a little bit deeper here to make sure that you really understand them. First misconception, that freedom comes first. Why I believe that is absolutely not true. Again, it goes back to autonomy and ownership. They're very different. Having autonomy is cool, but when you own it, you're obligated. You're obligated to your partners, you're obligated to your employees, you're obligated to your customers. If you borrow money, especially in real estate, you're obligated to your lenders. Guess what that means? You're not free. You have an obligation to do the work to them whenever it happens. You also are responsible for everything that is going on, and so you're the last resort for all problems that nobody else can solve. So what does that mean? Absolutely no freedom. Vacations, they don't really exist, because when something needs to get done timely, it's on you. I'll never forget, right, early on talking to a buddy in the same situation, trying to grow the business, down to Disney with his children. Guess what? In line, typing on his laptop with his headphones in, while in line with his children at Disney World. It doesn't happen early on, and so you have to understand that freedom comes later. It doesn't come now. The second misconception, that more hustle solves everything, no, it doesn't. It honestly could probably make your business worse. Think about it. Does hustle fix bad margins? Does hustle fix profit? Does hustle fix actually be able to close a deal? Does hustle fix actually be able to solve the real problem at hand? It doesn't. And so you've got to understand that you have to create leverage in order to scale your business. Even to start it, you have to make sure that you're focused on the right things. I see it far too often, and even for us early on in our journey, we wanted to do everything all of the time. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't work your buns off. I'm not. Work as much as you humanly can, but you have to make sure you're working on the right things, focused on making actual decisions that move the business forward. So remember, hustle, it does not equal success early on in your entrepreneurial journey. You have to make sure you're focused on real decisions that move your business forward. And that third misconception, that revenue equals success, revenue is important, but I promise you it doesn't necessarily correlate to success. If you're selling something that you're losing money every time you sell it, growing revenue is pretty irrelevant, isn't it? Because every time you sell something more, revenue grows, and guess what? Your loss grows more. All it's gonna really do is create more chaos if you don't actually have the vision. You don't actually know why you're generating revenue in the first place, right? So just make sure that you pay attention to why it is that you're running your business, what it is that you're focused on, which is cash flow. Because cash flow is so important. At the end of the day, in order to create a successful business, it's about not going out of business. And the longer you're in the game, the better chance you have of massive success, to create an exit, to create a lifestyle, to create freedom. Now that we've got the misconceptions past us, they're long gone, you fully understand what it isn't, let's now talk about the 3 things, in my opinion, that you can get going on today, whether you're already an entrepreneur or you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, that's gonna allow you specifically to start rocking and rolling in the business that you wanna start. And the first is this: get financially honest with yourself. Lift up the car hood and look at the engine. That's your financial situation. Build a personal budget if you have to, or build a business budget depending on where you're at in the business. But what is the real cash picture? What kind of money do you have in the bank? What's the cash flow looking like? Are you having margins inside the business? What are you actually selling? And what do you make every time you sell it? But getting financially honest with yourself by far is the #1 thing you can do, because in my opinion, if you don't have the financial side of your business in order, you don't even have a business. You simply have a job without a boss. You're just a hustler. So get financially honest with yourself, build the budget, get it on a piece of paper, see it, understand it, and live in it. That's gonna help you grow a business. The second, decide what it is that you're actually building. In our businesses, in the Foundry, we call that vision clarity. What's your 10-year target? What's your 5-year target? Irrelevant to that, why are you running your business? What's your why? What's your purpose? There's lifestyle business, there are businesses that you're growing to exit and scale, there are businesses that you're building to create freedom. All of them are okay, but understand that they're different, right? Lifestyle business compared to enterprise business. From day one, I've always wanted to build an enterprise business, so I invested heavily into people, into process, right, into back office, and we were building early. But there's lifestyle business, which is essentially cash flow, and scaling it, realizing that you may or may not want to ever exit that. But how do you want to run yours? Because how you think about things and how you make decisions can really be different if you're running a lifestyle business compared to an enterprise business. And so just get clear on your why, get clear on what the business is actually gonna be, and get clear on the vision. And the third thing that I would say is you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. The rest of your life, you're gonna live in a stressful environment. Why? Because it's the job that we signed up for when we decided that we were gonna grow our own business as an entrepreneur. Because you have to get clear on how to execute. You have to understand that you're gonna be having hard conversations with people. You have to understand that you're gonna be making tough decisions without a clear path of the data that tells you what to decide. You're gonna upset people, whether it's employees, customers, lenders, whatever it is. You're gonna probably upset them because your decisions have to be for the betterment of the entire business, And sometimes that doesn't create success for everyone. We call that execution clarity. It creates success for the business that you're in. And so making sure that you're comfortable making those uncomfortable decisions, having those uncomfortable conversations, it will change the game, and that's why it's the third thing. With that being said, you need to understand that this isn't for everybody, and that's okay. There's plenty of people out in the world that have incredibly successful lives, that fulfill their mission and go on to live incredible lives without actually becoming an entrepreneur. I want to make no mistake about it. It's incredibly difficult. At times, you're going to want to burn the boats, burn the bridges, and go back to working at McDonald's as a cashier. That's how hard it is. But I promise you, if you're willing to accept the misconceptions, if you're willing to take the action that we discuss, and you're willing to put in the work because you want the autonomy, you want the ownership, you want the long-term upside, and you want to ultimately get to that freedom, then I promise you this is worth it. This is ground zero. Everything gets easier if you just get this part right. This channel, it's gonna be all about that. I'm talking vision clarity, execution clarity, and most important, that financial clarity. We're gonna be talking portfolio building, real estate investment, service-based businesses, finance, accounting, KPIs and numbers, culture, because I believe culture is the most important thing inside of any organization. Click subscribe. I'm excited to have you. See you on the next video.